Hey guys, I'm Nath Martyn, the Whisky Scribe. A couple of weeks ago I was in Sydney and managed to get to the Manly Spirits Co. Distillery, where they make Coastal Stone Whisky. Although it was a busy day and there was a full tour in the session before me, I was really lucky to be the only one on my tour, so I had my tour guide Johnno all to myself, which allowed us to talk about a lot more of the whisky making process. The washbacks, copper pot stills and aging whisky are all located in the same space. Though at the time of my tour they had recently acquired the premises next door and were expanding to make use of that space. The barley used is all Australian grown and malted, which after mashing it ferments for 5 days using a combination of distillers and ale yeast that they've found creates a more malty flavour. Once this is finished fermenting, the spent grain is given to local farmers as quality cattle and chicken feed. They have two separate stills for the first and second distillation. So the wash is fermented in a fairly standard looking copper pot still, but then the low wines that produces goes through a still that was custom designed by the founders David Whittaker and Vanessa Wilton. Keep in mind, David is a chemical engineer, so this still design is based on some pretty technical know-how. The spirit that comes out is aged in a wide selection of casks, and although bourbon casks are used, they put a really strong focus on using Australian wine casks, wanting to make whiskey that is uniquely Australian from grain to glass. Now, naturally, the tour included a whiskey tasting of some of their wide selection, so I had the chance to try whiskey that had been aged in sherry casks, Shiraz, Pinot, and a few other new and interesting expressions that were yet to be released. The whiskey created here is beautifully balanced, and as far as quality goes, it's comparable to what's produced in Scotland, but it has this hint of salt that probably comes from being just 1 kilometre away from Manly Beach, and it features some really wonderful earthy notes that do make this uniquely Australian. I even had the opportunity to pull some whiskey from a port cask using a copper dipping dog. I have always wanted to do this, and the whiskey that came out was amazing. It does help that it was cask strength though. Johnno did temporarily become my cameraman for this. All in all, this was a great experience, and if you're ever in Manly, I'd highly recommend a visit. There's a bar area where you can catch up for a drink, and in addition to whiskey, they also do gin tours and tastings, cocktail masterclasses, and they even have a gin school. But although Manly Spirits Co. is known for other spirits and liqueurs, the initial goal and primary focus is still on creating a rich and complex Australian whiskey, which we all know as Coastal Stone.